Okay, I have Jessica here from our Oregon Coast Scenic Railroad. Jessica, I've been hearing some things happening with STIA. That is our Salmonberry Trail Initiative. What is that acronym?
It's Salmonberry Intergovernmental Agency.
Okay.
Salmonberry Trail Intergovernmental Agency.
So that's what the IA,
Yeah.
all right.
Mm-hmm.
And tell us a little bit about what's happening. First, perhaps introduce yourself. You are the general manager of our railroad?
Yes, that's correct. My name is Jessica Jung. I am the general manager of the Oregon Coast Scenic Railroad. We are a 501c3 nonprofit museum. You probably have heard of us. We offer authentic steam-powered train excursions. It's kind of a unique way for people to tour our region and meet the folks who live here.
Ridership right at 30,000 last year, wasn't it?
Yes, 2017 was a huge bump in ridership. That is correct.
And certainly our OCSR came into being not that many years ago, correct?
No, when you think about how long the railroad has been around, we organized in 2004, became a nonprofit in 2004. And OCSR is really proud to be here and proud to serve the communities that we serve.
Tell me why I should be a little concerned about this upcoming meeting on February 2nd.
Well, let me give you a little bit of background. On December 13th, OCSR entered into lease renegotiation meetings to extend our current agreement so that it will support our ability to expand. We have currently 8 years left on our lease. So we asked to negotiate, and the Port Board was very supportive of giving 3 20-year terms, so 60 years to the OCSR. And we felt very good about that. January 19th, in another negotiation meeting that we had with 2 port commissioners and the general manager, we were told that the Port of Tillamook Bay commissioners already voted in agreement with the Salmonberry Trail lease that they have developing at the same time as our lease is happening and developing. And all of this has been in executive session, mind you. We were told that they have agreed to it. They have taken a vote. And we were also told that they are very confident that STIA would object to extending past the 8 years of our lease. So that got us to thinking that there's perhaps, and we asked questions. What do you mean object? What does that mean legally? How far will they be able to take it? And we were told that it has to come to a consensus, and the Port of Tillamook Bay is on the board of STIA, and all they have to do is object. And so we said, okay. Well, we heard some things that gave us the idea that it could be a little more than that. So we asked again, because we've asked many times, that if they would mind sending us a copy so we can review the lease, since it's happening at the same time. And we were denied. So our attorney, Martin Hansen from Francis Hansen and Martin LLP, he requested a public document or gave a public records request to the port, and they did finally give us the lease. And it is, in fact, in the lease that the Trail Commission has the ability to block not only new leases, but existing leases, including automatic renewals. Now, I want to be clear about this. It's not all of STIA. It's not every member. It's not every subcommittee member. It's a few members within STIA who are very adamant about a rail to trail. In fact, it's been said that they're so adamant that it's either going to be rail to trail or no trail at all. And I also want to be clear that it's our belief at OCSR that the Port Commission doesn't really understand the language that they're consenting to. And I've spent a lot of time, most of my day yesterday, calling them and asking them to look at it again. And our attorney sent them a letter pointing out which parts of the proposed lease that they've already agreed to is, in effect, the port relinquishing their rights to manage their property. And we're talking not just OCSR, we're talking any existing use agreement along 86 miles of right-of-way. And that's OCSR, that's the rail riders, that's city and county utilities, that's the fiber optics lines, it's parking, it's public and
there's a lot of culverts and bridges, that infrastructure that affects
easements. There's city and county road encroachments, and all of these are now, will be, if they sign on the 2nd, will be under the control of STIA. So I'll just break it down really quick. So I know there's a lot of information that I'm throwing at you, but it's really quite simple. On page 4, section D3, it starts talking about existing leases and STIA's ability to object to the leases. And then it talks about current, or not existing, it also talks about new leases. And what it says that's alarming, and it's a public record now, anyone can request it now that it's been voted on. So what it says is that STIA may object if STIA believes that the new use agreement, A, fails to conform to the concept plan, B, constitutes trail use, C, negatively affects STIA's lease rights under this agreement, or D, imposes a material negative impact on STIA's trail use. So if it doesn't conform to the concept plan, if it negatively affects the lease rights, or it imposes a material negative impact. But what's really important is the word believes. If STIA believes. And legally, in a court of law,
how to leave it so open?
What it means is they are giving STIA sole discretion in what they believe. Now, it goes on to saying what happens if they object. They do it in writing. And then they go to Section X. And Section X in this document basically states that there are 3 stages of objection. Step 1 is negotiation. And they take one person from STIA, one person from the port. They get in a room and they try to negotiate. And the only way the port can commence with an existing or new lease is if it's in writing, and that's the word where the word consensus comes from. Okay, if they don't come to an agreement, they go to step 2, which is mediation, and then they start with one mediator, they add a few more mediators. If it doesn't come to writing, the consensus, it goes to step 3, which is legal action. It goes to litigation.
But you said with the port, does the OCSR, does Oregon Coast Scenic Railroad have the right to negotiate with STIA?
No,
not at all.
No. And this process has not been transparent in any way, shape, or form. So as soon as it goes into court, all the judge has to say is, well, if STIA believes.
Now, there's going to be a meeting regarding this in Salem on next Friday?
That's correct. Let's see. It's February 2nd at our Capitol in Salem, room 50, and it's from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. And this is the STIA board meeting. And they just sent out the notification this morning. And in that notification, there's lots of language change to the lease proposal that we have. It's even more convoluted than before, and they're still calling it to a vote.
How can people get involved?
So the important thing to remember here is that it's our belief the port commissioners don't understand what they're signing, okay? Well, most of them. Jack Mulder called me last night, and he specifically said he's been has intimate. he was intimately involved in the development of this lease, and he has read it and he understands it. It's clear to me by talking to the others that they don't. But your question is, what can we do? So let's keep in mind that the port commissioners need to understand what they're consenting to. And what's really important to understand is that there are a few, not all, of STIA members who are intimately involved in this. And we're talking Salem bureaucrats who just want to ride their bikes through our backyards and farmlands. It's been clear from day one that they have been waiting us out. They tried pushing us out first. That didn't work, and now they're just going to wait us out. And we have an auto renewal in 4 years, so that if they sign this, that could be then. So what can you do? Call to action. What we need is the port commissioners to not take our word for it. Even though our attorney sent them a letter pointing this out, don't take our word for it. Talk to your legal team. Talk to them yourself. Find out exactly what this document means. And don't agree to anything until it's finalized. So the call to action is talk to your legal team and revote before the 2nd.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. And again, this meeting is coming up Friday. Would you want any help in the audience from over here? Do you think it makes any difference if we get some people?
Well, now I don't know how big Room 50 is, but the more the merrier.
Okay.
The more the merrier. And we'll have all of this information posted on our website later today.
And easy enough to find out who the STIA Salmonberry Trail Intergovernmental Agency. You can find it online and certainly find out who the members of that board are, too.
Correct. Yep.
Very good. Jessica, thank you a lot for stopping by.
Thank you, Shaena, for having me.
All right, we're going to add a piece here. Jessica, you mentioned a point in that proposed lease that could restrict not only our trains, but any use at some crossings. Read that piece to me.
Sure. It's in Section F, Part 2. It states, STIA may take all actions necessary to construct, maintain, and repair the trail and any segment of the trail, including without limitation, installing the following related utilities and improvements. All of such improvements shall be considered part of the quote-unquote trail as that term is used herein. 1. Trail surfaces, footbridges, and associated trail structures. 2. Trail markers, signs, lights, benches, and other security enhancements. And 3. Any barriers, fences, and gates necessary to prevent motorized vehicular access. And 4. Any other improvements specifically approved in the concept plan. And the concept plan they're referring to, which they refer to it a lot in here, is the Salmonberry Trail concept plan.
Again, you can find that plan online.
Online on their website, that is correct. Basically, Shaena, what this, that's not the only place in this document that has language like that. And basically, this is absolutely looking out for a trail that hasn't even had an economic impact study done, mind you. And the port has an obligation to the county to look out for the port's interests that serve the county.
Well, when we talk about the rail runs through my town, and I have to admit I take a personal interest in Bay City, of course, but the number of crossings just in my town, whereas up in Rockaway, there's multiple crossings in Rockaway.
Oh, yes, and Rockaway is approximately 4 miles, and there's 22 crossings in that stretch. Yep.
And I don't hear the cities and other places being brought to the table to discuss what's happening.
No, they haven't been transparent about this at all. In fact, when you have two leases and each of these leases are proposed, they're proposed, reference each other in them and each other's leases in them. When you have something like that happening, you have to have them done side by side at the same time, everybody on board at the same table.
Well, I think what we want to make sure is that our port has studied this in depth And the final document before they sign anything.
Yeah, this is a 99-year lease.
Jessica, thank you again.
No problem. Thanks.